As the icy expanse of space shimmered in the aftermath of another skirmish, a profound silence ensued. From the darkness, a colossal silhouette emerged, previously concealed and now starkly outlined against the starlit backdrop of the battlefield. The human's final gambit, the battlestar Defiance soared into view, its cannons blazing a path through previously impenetrable alien shields. On board, Carter Maddox watched, his heart pounding, as his creation sliced through the enemy's ranks, rewriting the rules of war in a single, breathtaking display. The stars themselves seemed to tremble as the Defiance surged into the chaotic heart of the battlefield. Hidden until this moment, humanity's desperate gamble dwarfed the surrounding skirmishes, casting a vast shadow over both allies and adversaries. Inside, the bridge was a maelstrom of urgent voices and flashing displays, all converging on one man, Carter Maddox. Today, his creation would undergo its baptism by fire. Status report. Carter's voice sliced through the cacophony on the bridge. Around him, the crew of the Defiance operated with frantic precision, their expressions etched with determination. Shields at 80%, all blasters charged and ready, reported Lieutenant Kara Wells, her eyes darting between her screens and Carter. Enemy fleet within range in T-minus 30 seconds. Carter nodded sharply. Focus all firepower on their command ship. Target their propulsion systems. It's now or never, he commanded, his gaze fixed on the forward screen that displayed the advancing Zolfran fleet. The air vibrated with the charge of the Defiance's main weapon. As the alien command ship drew closer, bathed in the cold light of distant stars, the tension on the bridge escalated. Fire! Carter barked. The battlestar shuddered as beams of concentrated energy erupted from its core, streaking across space with deadly precision. The crew held their breath as the beams struck their target, the impact sending a shock wave that rippled through both fleets. For a moment, the Zolfran ship faltered, its shields flickering under the unexpected assault. Cheers erupted around the bridge, but Carter remained composed, his eyes watching as the enemy scrambled to mount a counterattack. Steady, everyone. This is just the beginning, he reminded them, his voice calm yet resolute. In the depths of space, General Zorvac of the Zolfran Empire observed the Defiance with narrowed eyes. So, the humans have a new toy, he growled, his tone menacing. Communications, open a channel to the fleet. It's time they learned even the mightiest weapons can be silenced. Back on the Defiance Carter paced before the main viewport, each report from his officers refining the mental map of the battlefield that he was constructing. Kara, divert power to the aft shields. Prepare to engage cloaking devices on my mark, he instructed, his mind weaving through tactics and trajectories. As the enemy fleet adjusted their formation, a young ensign's voice quivered through the bridge. Sir, they're flanking us. Looks like they're trying to surround us. Carter's response was swift, his command cutting through the rising panic. Engage cloaking now, and set course for the asteroid field. We'll lead them on a little detour. The Defiance vanished from sight, just as the first volleys of the enemy's return fire reached its last known position. Inside, the crew navigated by instruments alone, the stars outside obscured by the cloaking shield. Keep your eyes sharp. We're not out of this yet, Carter stated, his hand clenching the rail as he peered into the obscured void. His heart raced, but his face displayed only determination. This was the moment his life's work would prove its worth, not merely as a weapon, but as a beacon of hope, a testament that humanity would never yield, even in the face of oblivion. 3 weeks before the Defiance cut through the black tapestry of space with its revolutionary weaponry, the heart of the project throbbed quietly beneath the Martian surface. Within the sterile, dimly lit depths of a concealed research facility, Carter Maddox orchestrated what could either be humanity's greatest scientific breakthrough or its most dramatic failure. The room was alive with a low murmur of focused conversation and the gentle clacking of keyboards. Diagrams of the Defiance and its experimental blasters illuminated the vast screens lining the walls, casting a pale electric blue glow across the room. Carter, with his sleeves rolled up and eyes filled with determination, leaned over a cluttered table strewn with schematics and electronic components. Look, if we reroute the energy flow here, Carter pointed at a section of the blueprint detailing the battlestar's main armament system, we might enhance the pulse output without overloading the core. Dr. Alina Voss, a physicist whose groundbreaking theories had laid the foundation for the weapon's core technology, peered over her glasses at the suggested modification. It's risky, Carter. The conduits aren't built to handle that much power. It could fry the entire system. Carter's gaze met hers, his expression resolute. I know it's a gamble, but conventional methods won't suffice. We need something that pushes the boundaries. Are you in? After a brief pause, Alina nodded, her features set in determination. Let's do it. The subsequent days were a whirlwind of activity. The team worked tirelessly, day and night, testing and retesting, tweaking and adjusting. The facility vibrated with palpable tension, each test edging them closer to the pivotal moment. Finally, it was time for the decisive test. The team assembled in the control room, every breath held as Carter initiated the firing sequence. The room was charged with anticipation, each monitor casting stark shadows over the anxious faces of the team. Energy levels stable, conduits holding. Ready on your command, Carter, a technician reported, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. Carter nodded firmly, his finger poised over the launch button. Do it. The ensuing silence was overwhelming. Then, suddenly, the room vibrated as the weapon discharged with a thunderous roar, its sound muffled by the facility's thick walls but resonating in the bones of everyone present. On the screen, the target, a derelict asteroid, disintegrated into dust, annihilated by the potent energy pulse. Cheers broke out among the team, a wave of relief and triumph sweeping over them. They had achieved it. They had forged a weapon capable of altering the trajectory of the war. Carter's smile was tinged with tears of relief and pride. We've just given humanity a fighting chance, he declared, his voice laden with emotion. Alina clapped him on the shoulder, her initial reservations eclipsed by their victory. No, Carter, you did. As the team reveled in their success, Carter stepped aside, his gaze lingering on the screens displaying data from their triumphant test. His mind, however, raced ahead to the ramifications of their invention. They had crafted more than a mere weapon. They had crafted hope. Yet with it came the weight of the decisions he would soon have to make, the lives that would depend on his commands. He turned from the jubilation, a heaviness settling on his shoulders as he braced for what lay ahead. As the Zolfern fleet recalibrated, General Zorvac, unfazed by the initial setback, orchestrated a ferocious counteroffensive. The space around the human battlestar Defiance erupted in a cataclysm of fire and debris, each salvo from the alien warships a testament to Zorvac's tactical genius and relentless pursuit. On the bridge of the Defiance Carter Maddox stood resolute, his eyes scanning the relentless barrage of incoming projectiles. Evasive maneuvers, pattern Delta. Keep them guessing our next move, he commanded sharply, his voice cutting through the clamor of alarms and the urgent reports from his crew. The ship lurched violently, weaving through the hail of enemy fire with grace born of desperation. Shield status, Carter called out, bracing against the console as another wave of energy pulses rocked the vessel. Down to 40% and falling, sir, responded Lieutenant Harrow, her fingers dancing across the control panel to reroute power. Carter's mind raced, analyzing and discarding strategies with each new piece of data. They were outgunned but not yet outmaneuvered. A risky idea formed, and he grasped it like a lifeline. Prepare to enter the asteroid field, he announced. Murmurs of apprehension echoed around the bridge, but the decision was made. There was strategy in madness. As the Defiance darted toward the dense cluster of asteroids, the Zolfern fleet hesitated. Zorvac, observing from his command center, recognized the ploy. He wants us to follow, he muttered, eyes narrowing. A grudging respect colored his tone when he added, clever human. Through the chaotic ballet of asteroids, the Defiance danced on the edge of disaster, each turn and dodge as precise as it was perilous. Carter watched the enemy ships follow, their larger, less agile vessels struggling with the unpredictable terrain. Keep them on our tail. Make every move count, he instructed, his gaze fixed on the forward screen, watching as several Zolfran ships succumbed to the lethal embrace of hurtling space rocks. Amidst the pursuit, Carter opened a channel to the Zolfran commander. "Zorvac, this doesn't have to end with more bloodshed," he offered, his voice steady despite the chaos. Zorvac's laughter crackled through the speakers. "You overestimate your position, human. You cannot escape." But Carter smiled thinly, a plan taking shape. "It's not about escaping, it's about changing the game." With a nod to his navigator, he steered the Defiance deeper into the field, where a particularly dense asteroid loomed. As the gap closed, the tension on the bridge was palpable. With a flick of a switch, Carter engaged the Defiance auxiliary thrusters, catapulting them away from the looming asteroid just as the Zolfran ships, too committed to their course, failed to adjust. The impact was devastating. Silence fell on the bridge as the debris settled. Carter stood, surveying the damage to his enemies with a heavy heart. "Inform all stations to maintain high alert. This battle may be over, but the war continues," he said, turning to assess the status of his own ship and crew. The chapter concludes with the Defiance limping away from the asteroid field, the crew weary but alive, their resolve hardened by the day's harrowing victory. Carter's thoughts lingered on the cost of this war and the price yet to be paid. Inside the asteroid field, the battle escalated to unparalleled intensity. Carter Maddox, piloting the Defiance weaved through tumbling rocks that glinted like diamonds against the stark blackness of space. The ship's hull groaned under the stress of evasive maneuvers, but Carter's focus remained unyielded. Each asteroid dodged meant potential salvation or doom. The Zolfran fleet, agile and relentless, mirrored every move. Their ships, sleek and deadly, darted through space with a predatory grace, their weapons discharging in brilliant streaks of destructive energy. Carter's plan to use the asteroids as both shield and weapon had worked partially. Several enemy ships lay wrecked against the unforgiving stone. Yet the cost was steep. The human toll mounted with each passing second, their cries and determination echoing through the Defiance corridors. Amidst the chaos, a transmission cracked through to Carter's console. The voice of General Zorvac boomed with clarity and chilling calm. "Commander Maddox, you exhibit commendable skill," he said. "Yet one wonders at what cost does your victory come." Carter's hands tightened on the controls. Zorvac's words cut deeper than he cared to admit, feeding the growing seed of doubt in his heart. How many more lives would he put at risk for a chance at victory? Could there be another way? "General, this war was not of our choosing," Carter responded, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "But believe me when I say, we fight for the right to exist." A sharp jolt rocked the Defiance as an asteroid clipped the aft shield. Alarms blared, red lights bathing the bridge in ominous hues. Dr. Elena Voss, his chief engineer, relayed the damage report with urgent precision. "Carter, we've sustained a hull breach near the engine room. We need to pull back and initiate repairs immediately." Every fiber of Carter's being resisted the retreat. To pull back now meant giving the Zolfrans the upper hand, but Elena's words resonated with a harsh truth. The Defiance was no good to anyone as space debris. Making the call, Carter gritted his teeth and ordered the retreat. "All hands, prepare for evasive maneuvers. Set course out of the asteroid field." As the Defiance began its precarious withdrawal, Carter's gaze fell upon the crew operating with silent efficiency around him. Their faces, lit by the glow of their screens, were resolute yet shadowed by fatigue. These were people who had families, dreams, lives beyond the war. He was reminded that his decisions affected every one of them. "Sir, we're clear of the field," announced the navigator, relief palpable in his voice. The bridge crew let out a collective, subdued sigh of relief. They were safe for the moment. Carter took a moment to reflect on the events. The war was far from over, and the Defiance was but one ship against a formidable empire. Yet in that instant of retreat he found a clearer understanding of his role, not just as a commander, but as a protector of his people. "Let's get to work on those repairs," he said, turning to his crew with a renewed sense of purpose. "We live to fight another day, not just for victory, but for the hope of peace." As the Defiance limped away from the asteroid field, a new resolve hardened within Carter. This war would end, and it would end on terms that preserved not just human lives, but their humanity itself. The moral implications of his decisions would no longer weigh him down, but guide him towards a future where such dilemmas could be met with hope rather than resignation. The Battlestar Defiance limped away from the asteroid field, its hull scared and pockmarked from the skirmish. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of ozone and burnt metal, yet there was a palpable sense of relief. They had survived, at least for now. Carter Maddox walked slowly through the corridors of his ship, each step echoing in the empty passageway. The dim emergency lights cast long shadows, giving the ship a haunted, eerie feel. As he passed the medical bay, the sound of soft moaning from the wounded crew members reached his ears. He paused at the doorway, his heart heavy at the sight of the injured, some critically, all because of a war that seemed to have no end. Dr. Elena Voss, who had been administering pain relief to a young ensign, noticed him and walked over. Her face was drawn, the strain of the last few hours evident in her eyes. "We saved as many as we could, Carter," she said quietly, her voice thick with fatigue. Carter nodded, his throat tight with emotion. "I know, Elena. You've done an incredible job." Moving away from the medical bay, Carter continued his walk to the command center. The damage here was less physical and more psychological. The weight of command was a heavy burden to bear, and the crew looked to him for their next move. As he entered the command center, the crew straightened, their eyes searching his for a sign of what was to come. He looked at each of them, his crew, his responsibility, and made a decision. "Listen up," he began, his voice clear and commanding. "We've shown the Zulfrans that we're not to be underestimated. But this war isn't over. We need a plan, not just for the next battle, but for ending this conflict for good." A murmur of agreement went through the room. Carter continued, "We're going to Earth to regroup and reinforce. But more than that, we're going to innovate. We're not just going to defend humanity. We're going to ensure a future where this kind of conflict doesn't happen again." The crew nodded, the determination returning to their faces. Carter felt a surge of pride. These were his people, and they were as resilient as they came. "Jensen," he called to his navigation officer, "set course for Earth. Maximum speed." "Yes, Captain," Jensen replied, his hands flying over the controls. As the Defiance made its way back to their home planet, Carter stood at the command center's viewport, looking out at the stars. The universe was vast, filled with infinite possibilities. They had survived today, but there was much to be done. Humanity had to be ready for whatever came next, whether it be peace or further conflict. Turning away from the viewport, Carter returned to his crew, ready to lead them through whatever challenges lay ahead. They were ready too, he knew. They had to be. The future of humanity depended on it.